Hey guys, I'm the Philosopher, and welcome to another episode of FGC Philosophy, where I help you guys level up inside and outside the virtual arena by talking about topics and having people on the show that I think will help us all level up. Today, I have a guest who is another Michigan local, actually. Hi Lee. He is from Detroit or around the Detroit area, and he has agreed to join the show. He is one of the best players in Michigan. He's been around the competitive Tekken scene for many years in and out. Now he's actually teaching other people how to get better at Tekken, intermediate and beginners, which is awesome. He does live streams and is doing it all for free. That's ridiculous. So thank you for actually joining the show. So before we get into the show though, a part of the portion of the show got lost at the very beginning, so we didn't get a chance to hear about his origin story, which I am very upset about, and I'm sorry about that. Nonetheless, he gave a lot of information, so I didn't want to scrap the whole entire thing because there's tons of good knowledge in there and there wasn't really too much lost. We're gonna hop right into the actual conversation talking about coaching, his experiences with coaching, because this is kind of a new experience for him. So that said, thank you all so much for tuning in, and of course thank you to the patrons who help support this channel. I could not have been as far as I am now without you guys. Now on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean. So yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting. If you guys also want to support me, you can go ahead and do that over at patreon.com/philosopher. Even as little as $1 a month goes a long way. So thank you guys in advance. And of course, I hope you enjoy the show. So what, if any, what like findings have you had or improvements? Like if someone was wanting to be a teacher, and you know, a lot of times the best players aren't always the best teachers. It's a skill just like playing a game. So just from your experience, like maybe I'll follow up with you in like a year or so, but so far a month into it, what has been your experience and what have you learned to change other than just having them fight other players as well?
At first, I didn't know how to quite coach them. So I basically told everyone, hey, just play the way you play. And then after that, I'll give you some type of, tips on how to improve, what you're doing wrong, what you're doing great. Because, nobody wants to hear all these really negative things about how they play. So I try to focus more on what they're doing well and then build upon that.
So I guess this is kind of a Tekken specific thing, and I'm going to have to learn a little bit of Tekken along the way, just from some of the questions. I know fighting games are a little bit different here and there, but what is usually, is there any sort of structure that you have when teaching someone fighting games, or do you tailor it to the individual skill level?
I try to cater to more of the individual skill level. That's why right now I'm working on both a beginner and an intermediate level session. The beginner session obviously are those that are just starting the game or have played the game in the past but are getting back into it again and don't quite know the mechanics of how Tekken 7 works. So I really try to go with them step by step, watch how they play, and then try to guide them to what they need to do. So I'll really straightforward tell you, hey, do more of this or do more of that. That way they can get an understanding of, hey, this move is good or this move is bad, and just let them play with that, And then sometimes I'll give them a suggestion, like, hey, why don't you try out this move? Because I haven't seen you use this move yet. Try it out, see what it's like. So that way they get into a groove, so to speak, of learning all these different things that your character is capable of. The intermediate class, that is assuming that you know your character decently well, like you know the combos, you know the move list, you have fairly decent movement within the game itself. And that's when I really go into in-depth with character knowledge. Because beginners, I don't care if you don't know how to play against the other character. We're not concerned about that. We're concerned about how you move with your character and the things that your character has. Once you get past that level, then I go into more detail about, okay, how do you fight against this character? What should you do in order to, optimize your damage against this character? What are some of the quirks that this character that you're playing against that you can take advantage of, and so on and so forth. And then that way they understand it. They also understand frame data, which I don't really introduce in the beginners because a lot of beginners get overwhelmed with numbers and they just fall apart after that. So I try to eliminate the technical stuff as much as possible in beginners, and then leave that for the intermediate sessions.
Right. That's actually a really good point too, because one of the things that has held me back from Tekken and other games that appear to be the same way, or is that there's an overwhelming amount of information that you can actually access. Like if you look at the moves list, it's just like a long laundry list of different moves that you can do, and there's a little explanation as to how to use them. So what do you do? Like how do you address that? The abundance of information. Like how do you simplify the amount of information when you're trying to teach someone a game?
Well, for beginners, what I try to do is there's a lot of resources out there that provide you with lists of like the top 10 or top 15 moves of each character. That's what I really try to focus on for beginners, because like you said, they don't really know what's good and what's bad, but there's already a lot of information, a lot of resources out there that tell you, hey, for this character, these are like the 10 or 15 of the best moves that you should use while you're playing. So I guide them to do that. I guide them to practice these moves on a daily basis, kind of like martial arts. You're doing punches and kicks, and get them to the point where they can do it by muscle memory, that they can do them without thinking. And then when they play against someone, if they happen to freeze up, I'll be like, hey, remember that top 10, top 15 move list? Use those lists, or print out that list, put it right in front of you. That way you can have it to reference to when you're playing. Same with the combos. There's a lot of staple combos that beginners can work on. They don't really need to know the most optimal damage combo, just a combo that they can juggle them in the air, get some hits, and then that's it, right? We're not looking for anything super that would take up like half your life, just to get the understanding of how to juggle someone, and then take an opportunity to get the damage from it.
Okay. So when it comes to like the 10 to 15 things that you're going to learn, you kind of listed one of those reasons, but is there a general rule of thumb when using certain beginner combos or moves? Is there something that's kind of common throughout every character, or is it different depending on what character you're using?
There are some commonalities. So a lot of the top 10, top 15 moves have to do with how well they are used for poking. And, in Tekken, that's kind of like a fundamental deal is poking. So I get these people to understand, okay, these are the moves that you want to do when you're kind of engaged with another fighter, just to, get them poking. And then also they have other moves that may not be listed as the top 10, top 15, but I would consider them as more like a surprise moves. So moves that you still should learn in your character, but throw them out every once in a while, just to, keep your opponent on your toes. And then from there, they can start understanding, okay, this is a move when I can use it in this situation. Like I can't really tell you exactly when to use it in a certain situation. They have to actually use it for themselves and then discover, when to use it. So this is why I have them play against other players of their caliber, because once they start seeing how the certain move works, then they know, okay, I can use it during this time. They find out for themselves. They learn a lot better through that versus me instructing them, hey, use it like that, because then they're just, basically I'm the one playing for them, which I don't
Right.
want to do.
Yeah, you're kind of forcing them to learn for themselves and be a little bit more reliant, giving them the tools, but making it so that they have to find the opportunity to use those tools.
Right.
Cool. Okay, I like that. So when it comes to helping people, I know one reason is obviously the better players get, the better you get. But what other like driving factors are there for you when it comes to helping players get better at Tekken? Like what's the motivation behind that? Is it just getting better, or are there other reasons as well?
Well, as for me, initially I wanted it to be something for like a selfish reason, as getting better for myself. But I realized that I'm getting older, and the Tekken community, at least in Michigan, isn't that big. It used to be a lot bigger in the past. So I wanted to grow this community again, and get it back to where it was, many years ago. And I realized that, hey, this game is really difficult to play. I didn't really have anybody to teach me how to play. I really had to grind it out, and that's why it took me so long to get where I'm at. Whereas nowadays, a lot of these players have so many resources to go to, but as we pointed out, there's just too much information. So they don't exactly know what to start off with. They have the access to it, but they just don't know what to do. So that's where I kind of come in. Coming from just working on all the stuff from the ground up, I kind of give them some structure as to what to do, what to look for, what to practice on first, and then from there, play with their peers, get improvements, and then keep going back and forth. Just keep doing that until you finally get an understanding and can play for yourself. So for me, it's just great being able to see more and more Tekken players. I know some people who gave up Street Fighter just to play Tekken, just because for them it's more rewarding playing Tekken versus Street Fighter, and that's the type of stuff I like to hear, is being able to find your game, because some people feel like they're forced playing Street Fighter just because it's like the thing to do, but really Tekken is a great game too. You just got to give it a chance, and I'm here to help you, make that chance, into something more of an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of strange. Like I recently started an FGC with the help of Glitch Gaming Lounge, and Tekken is by far, like, next to Smash Brothers, which is like its own kind of entity. Tekken is the biggest turnout. Like, people come there, and I've started learning Tekken just because like half the people are sitting there playing it. So it's really interesting how, like, in different cities and different areas, it's more or less less popular. Because Street Fighter, it's like non-existent, but Tekken, Smash, and a little bit of Dragon Ball Z over here. But this is West Michigan, so I know you're over on the east side, so it's very interesting. Hopefully I can make my way back over there again. But for you, what is so interesting? Like, I know you said the 10-hit combos, but what keeps you coming back to Tekken year after year?
It's really the mind game. So once you get past a certain level, like, you may know a lot of things about Tekken, and you may know a lot of things about a particular character, but what you don't know is how somebody uses that character, right? It comes down to, it's not just the character, but the pilot. So, you may be like, oh yeah, I use that character, I know everything inside and out. Well, you may still lose because that person who's playing them is playing in such a unique fashion that, you can't adapt to them well. And the whole, just guessing game part of it, it's not just really mix-ups, but just getting them to do what you want them to do, like the conditioning factor. It's just a mind-blowing aspect of the game. And then there's so many things that you can do in Tekken because of, like, the 3D aspect of it that really gets me coming back to it. Parts of the whole punishment game, whip punishing, the reactions, and it's all blended together to make it a really fun game for me to play. Again, even custom combos, wall combos, all that stuff is also fun too. There's like so many different levels. Like, you're just basically peeling up the layers of an onion and getting deeper and deeper in the game, and that's what brings me back to Tekken each year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there is a lot of character variety, and I remember because I had this conversation with Azure, who was also on the show, and he won Michigan Masters, I believe, with Lucky Chloe, who, like, from my point of view, when I play a low tier character in Street Fighter, and I rarely see that character, but to see a character that's considered low tier win a tournament, but it again, to your point, it has less to do with the character themselves and more to do with that player, the person that's piloting that character, and how he knew so much about the other players or other characters that he was able to win. Because I think L Train was in grand finals with him, I want to say. Yeah. And he definitely understood that player as well as the character. So it's very fascinating to be able to see that. I'm still very novice when it comes to Tekken. Like, I know more than I'm able to do, but it's still just scattered information here and there. So I'm like, the more I talk about it, the more I get information from players, the more I'm starting to, like, take in a lot of information. And even though I don't play it, there's still a very high appreciation. It's fun to watch the game. I love watching the top 8s of Tekken and hearing the commentators and things of that nature. But tangent aside, so moving forward, obviously you're still teaching. I'm assuming you're still competing, but yep. So what are your future goals when it comes to Tekken?
Well, first of all, I'm still working on trying to travel out to more majors. Probably nothing this year, but starting next year, I'm going to try going to more. I did a whole bunch of Red Bull events that were hosted in Chicago and also one in California. And then also, some of the local ones here. I've been going to many of the weeklies that were hosted by a High School Lounge last year and this year. But for me, making my next goals are to travel more and try to hit more majors. And also, I want to go to at least one Evo. So I'm really going to make it or try to make it next year. That's kind of like on my bucket list to do, because since the dawn of the Evo series, I've not been able to go to one. So I think I want to at least get to one, and then just say, hey, I've been to one, and that's that. So
yeah, definitely. I'm with you right there. Also, Evo's going on right now. Tekken Top 8 is going on. So I think both of us are like thinking about that in our heads. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on those points. That's a really good goal. So another point that I want to go back on is you talked about peers and playing with other players. So obviously you have to play players that are on your caliber or higher to improve. So what have you been doing to either reach out to other players that are better or on the same skill level, or maintaining those relationships? Like what's your habit for finding training partners?
For the most part, I've been trying to play with Brian Azure. He's kind of been my big competition. And what's kind of funny is between myself, Azure, and L Train, we're kind of in a circle. Like L Train will beat me. I typically beat Brian, and then Brian will typically beat L Train. So it's kind of like that weird circle, right? Because I don't have many issues playing Brian because my character Jack does well against Chloe, so it's not that bad. And I played him enough to know what different tricks he's got up his sleeve. L Train is different. He plays a different style, and his character sometimes gets the best of me. I mean, I've beat him a few times in tournaments, but overall, he's the better player. But then Brian, he beats L Train more times than not, and it could be based on his style of play, and then L Train not being able to adapt well, or Brian conditioning him and catching him in critical moments. Also, for me, I play a lot of online. I know it's sometimes not the best based on connection, but I really play against unique play styles. And I'll play a single, match against someone, and I may not know like what's going on because they play so differently, so oddly that I can't really make a good read on them. So I really try my best to get as much exposure out there. There's like so many people out there that play, and they play the same character, differently each time. So it's really good for me to get that type of experience. And then should I play somebody who plays like that, I kind of know what to do. So it really helps expand my skill set and being able to play differently and adapt much quicker. Playing online and just trying to get exposure to different play styles.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to use my character efficiently, there are a lot of times I find myself in autopilot, especially with my main character Jack, and I'll play a certain way, and then other people will know how to play against that character. They'll see through my patterns and will end up, just breaking me down, and then I end up doing everything wrong. So for me, I had to end up switching to another character. My a secondary I've been kind of working on, Kazumi. She's actually all fundamental based, and I didn't realize how much I was lacking in fundamentals. I mean, I had good fundamentals, but not great fundamentals. So switching over to her, maybe work on that more often. And her move list is really small, and plus she's a no BS character, right? There's nothing that she has, no gimmicks, no shenanigans that will help you squeak out the wins. You got play super solid, and fundamentals need to be on point, and your focus level needs to be near at 100%. Because if you start slacking off with that character, then you'll end up losing that match. With Jack, I have a little bit of leeway for some things, but with Kazumi, really you can't. A lot of people struggle with that character at a high level. I did as well too, until I understood what I needed to do and then did it. So
okay. And so you said that you play a lot of different play styles with the same character online. Something that I've come across personally, and I'm kind of curious to know how you work that out, is a lot of times for me, I'm a little slow to adapt to the new style. So they're using the same character, but they're doing it in a different way as somebody else. And personally, I have a hard time condensing that information into something useful and then being able to utilize that information next time. Like, what process do you have? Do you rewatch your matches? Do you just you've played so many matches that you do it faster? Like, what is that process for you?
For me, when I'm playing somebody I don't know, typically what I do is I try to run through some typical scenarios that I have with my character. Like, does this person know that after this you can get out of it the next attack through this way? Just kind of test them, right? Even if I lose like my first round or second round, even a lot of that has to do with just testing the knowledge that this person has against my character. Should this person know a lot of these basic common scenarios, then that's when I learn how to switch things up. Like, okay, he knows that I know that I can do this stuff and get away with it. So then I try to switch it up to something else, something that he doesn't expect that a person would do. Sometimes with other people, I'll just check them with different plus frames. So if I do a particular move, will this person press a button? And if they press a button, then I know that if I shoot again and I press a move that's faster than their move, they'll get a counter hit. So just stuff like that. I try not to go too ham, so to speak, just not mashing buttons right away, just going in, dashing in, maybe doing a jab or two just to poke them, see what their reaction is, right? Because a lot of people have different types of reactions. Sometimes they just stay there, do nothing, because maybe they're more defensive. And that's when I'm like, okay, this guy will probably just wait for me to do something stupid and then counter me with a launch or something. Others are more offensive. They want to, try to press a button right after I press a button. So in that case, okay, well, next time I'll sidestep or I'll duck if it's a high, and then counter them that way. So it's a lot of, just more or less just testing them from the get-go. And then also, bringing in some prior experiences that I have against other players who may play similar in that sort of way.
Okay, that makes sense. So going with the basic strategy of understanding how well they understand your character and their character, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, you've already given me a lot of information and given the listeners a lot of information, but when it comes to getting better, placing higher in tournaments, and just being an overall better Tekken player, what kind of advice would you have to someone who probably already asked you that, but what kind of answer do you have to that?
Well, aside from knowing your character and knowing the ins and outs of that character, what's really important to get into, I guess, a higher place in the tournament would be to go into practice mode and give yourself some practice against other characters. So set the CPU, or I'm sorry, the dummy, to do a variety of moves and learn how to block them. And that is very important because you want to be able to get your reactions to the point where you can block majority of the moves that a character may have. Nothing like super fast, just common slow lows or maybe like some strings that you can duck out of. Those type of things you want to kind of keep in check and practice and get into your muscle memory, because those are opportunities that you can get free damage from. You can duck a particular high in a string, and you can launch them with a while standing launcher. Or if you are able to low parry a low in a particular string, then you can do a low parry combo. So a lot of that stuff I still train from time to time, just because I need to keep my reflexes in check and be able to get that free damage when I can, because otherwise I'm just giving it up. And then also they need to practice throw breaking. I mean, throw breaking is an essential thing in Tekken, and a lot of beginners don't have that reflex to break throws. They can't see the arms and breaking throws. So what I recommend to them is just go into the practice mode, pick 3 different throws, one that breaks with a 1 break, and then another one with a 2 break, and another one with a 1+2, and then try to see the arms. It's okay if you don't get it right off the bat, but it's going to click. It's clicked for me because it's taken me like 3 to 4 Tekkens to understand how to break throws. Mm-hmm. So they need to go through the same grind too. They're going to have to go through that, and they're going to have to choose different characters that have different arm sizes too. 1 big character, 1 small character, 1 medium-sized character. Because sometimes people ask me, I can't see any of Jack's throws. Jack's arms are too big. I'm like, well, that's when you have to go into practice mode and then choose those 3 type of throws that Jax has, and then just really focus on looking at the arms and then reacting to it. There's no other way for them to get any better but to just practice that.
There's no shortcut for muscle memory.
Right. You gotta put in the work.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that was super informative, actually. So we already know you stream. What, if any, kind of schedule do you have, and where can the people find you? Social media, Twitter, anything you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So my Twitch channel is Haitake Kakashi. It's spelled with Hai and then Take Kakashi. It's one word. They can find me on Facebook. Anybody who's a friend of me on Facebook already knows how to reach me. Twitter, same thing. That's my Twitter handle as well, same as Twitch. And then also word of mouth. So sometimes people come to me and be like, hey, I heard from so-and-so that you're teaching these Tekken sessions. How do I get into it? So I really try my best to kind of reach out to as many Michigan players as I can to get into this, because, sometimes the opportunity doesn't present itself for them, but I wanted to be as available as possible to help them out, no matter how, big or small the sessions are.
Awesome.
And then my schedules are typically from Tuesday through Thursday at the moment. Tuesdays and Thursdays are intermediate sessions. Wednesdays are beginner sessions, and they start around 9:30, 10 p.m.
Cool. Is there any local that you go to on a regular basis?
The high score lounge tournaments, when they had the Detroit Player Series, I would go at least once a week to play in those tournaments. During the summertime, the tournaments haven't been that many, so I haven't really been to those. But once the series starts up again, hopefully I think in September, then that's when I'll start going back to those and attending those.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. Guys, make sure you check out the links that he just had. I'll put them in the description down below just in case. But as always, my name is A Philosopher. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.